Hi, how are you doing on this Saturday morning? Or at least it's Saturday morning for me. I've been reading your discussion board posts and I found them to be most informative. Most of you are proceeding well with answering your essential questions or developing even more, and at this time that might be happening. We are going to be getting more and more specific about your answers as we move through the course. A couple things were brought up in the discussions, and I wanted to kind of highlight them as things that you may not have seen, not have picked up in The World Must Know. You can't possibly remember all the information in that book. I think most of you read all of it, but you might want to refer to it now and to the parts you didn't read as you move through the course, because things are going to come up in Escape from Sobibor or some other text, and you may not know the background, so you may have to go back into The World Must Know and find out. One thing that came up was the idea of blood libel. There we go. And you can read this right here if you wanted to copy down. I'll show you the URL again, the address again, but blood libel started well before the killing of Christ. It started when the Jews were persecuted even before Christ was born. So the idea at that time, they weren't grabbing Christian children, but they were grabbing children of any other belief system. And in fact, it was elaborate according to these other groups. Choosing somebody, fattening them up, and then killing them around Passover. The other thing is in the Middle Ages, blood libel started in the way that they talked about it during World War II, as they would take a Christian child, the Jews would, and slay it and take the blood to make their Passover bread. All of these, of course, were myths and rumors created to make the Jews seem worse than they are. Here's that paper again, and you might want to copy this one down if you're interested in blood libel, if it ties into your essential question. The next one I want to show you, or talk to you about, the next idea, and here's some more information about it, is the German church and the Nazis. I read a biography of, I always forget his name, but it's on this page. Gosh, what's his name? I just read it. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I read his biography. He was a young youth Lutheran minister. In fact, he had barely, I think he had been a minister in one church, just fresh out of seminary, and then he was killed by the Nazi state because he defied what the Lutheran Church was saying at that time. The Lutheran Church at that time had the most membership in Germany, which makes sense because it was Martin Luther who lived in Germany, who in 1492, same year Columbus sailed, told the Catholic Church that it needed reformed in 42 different ways. People then broke away from the church and started forming a church they called the Lutheran Church after Luther, although he despised the fact it was named after him. He didn't want a new church. What he wanted was the Catholic Church to reform. That's an aside. I'm sorry, that's from my Lutheran upbringing. But the Lutheran Church wanted to stay in favor of the government, and it preached Nazi theology. And that's what Bonhoeffer was fighting, was that you can't be a Christian and support the Nazi state. In fact, I'll read this here. This is what the Lutheran Church said at that time. We demand the freedom of all religious confession in the state, insofar as they do not jeopardize the state's existence or conflict with the manners and moral sentiments of the Germanic race. The party, as such, upholds the point of view of a positive Christianity without tying itself confessionally to any one confession. It combats the Jewish materialistic spirit at home and abroad, and is convinced that a permanent recovery of our people can only be achieved from within on the basis of the common good before the individual. This is the key part right here. It's definitely an anti-Semitic statement. It is definitely asking its people to follow the government. There were 40 million people in the Lutheran Church. Not all of the ministers within the church wanted to follow Hitler. Bonhoeffer was one that did not want to. And he was executed for his ideas. This is about the German church. And another person who was deeply against what the Lutheran Church was doing was a Protestant minister who also was survived the war, even though he was locked up in a concentration camp. He came out with this quotation that is very, in a capsule, summarizes what happened in Germany, and it capsulizes what the people felt as they were going through the changes in the Holocaust. And it says, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. I think this quotation that he said during one of his lectures kind of summarizes the attitude of the German people during this time. And it may be very important for some of you who are kind of examining what the German people thought. I'm looking forward to next week's discussion about the film Escape from Sobibor. I will be watching it again this week to refresh my memory. I did watch it last semester, but it's always good for me to watch it again. I hope you, I hate to say enjoy it, but gain from it. And if you have any questions or concerns or comments, please contact me. I have received many emails in the past week, and I have enjoyed interacting with all of you and getting your concerns and getting your ideas.